Meditation practice method. The wonderful secret of meditation. What to do with your body. Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. The practice of meditation has existed for thousands of years. It's a long time for experimentation, and this method has been refined, honed, and perfected over the ages. Traditional Buddhist teachings always recognize the close interrelationship between the body and mind. Thus, physical practice can greatly support you in the process of cultivating insight. The following instructions should be practiced correctly, and it's important to remember that these sitting postures are merely supportive exercises, not the main focus. Meditation is not about sitting in the lotus position. It's about training the mind. It can be practiced anywhere. However, these postures will help you learn the skills needed to progress and develop faster in your meditation practice. Therefore, apply them appropriately. General rules. The purpose of these postures is threefold. First, they help the meditator establish a stable position for the body. With this stability, the meditator can focus the mind on the meditation object without worrying about balance or discomfort. Second, a stable body contributes to a stable mind, which can then progress deeper into concentration. Third, a stable posture allows the meditator to sit motionless for long periods without major disturbances, such as pain, muscle tension, or drowsiness. The most important thing is to sit with your back straight. Your spine should be upright, like a stack of coins. The head should be held straight in line with the spine. All of this should be done comfortably, not rigidly. You're not a wooden puppet, and this is not military training. In fact, there's no need to tense up to keep your back straight. Sit gently and relax. The spine should be like a young, flexible tree growing in soft soil. The rest of the body should follow in a relaxed and loose manner. These aspects require you to experiment multiple times to find what suits your body best. Usually when we sit, our posture is more awkward and unnatural than when we walk, talk, or stretch out. But these postures have become habitual over time and can be corrected. Your goal is to find a sitting posture that allows you to remain still throughout the entire meditation session. Initially, you might feel awkward sitting with a straight back, but with practice, you will get used to it and it will become comfortable because this sitting posture is very important. Physiologically, this is an alert posture and it aligns with a vigilant mind. If you slump, it means you're inviting drowsiness. What you sit on is equally important. A chair or cushion is necessary depending on the sitting posture, and the firmness of the seat should be chosen carefully. If it's too soft, it might make you sleepy, but if it's too hard, it can cause discomfort. Clothing worn during meditation should be soft and loose-fitting. Tight clothing that restricts blood flow or presses on nerves can cause pain or numbness, which people often describe as body falling asleep. If you're wearing a belt, loosen it. Avoid tight, thick clothing. Long skirts are a good option for women. Loose pants made of soft, elastic material are suitable for everyone. Soft, loose robes are typical traditional attire in Asia, such as sarongs or kimonos. Take off your shoes, and if you're wearing thick socks, remove those too. Traditional posture. When sitting on the floor in the traditional Asian style, you'll need a cushion to support your spine. Choose a cushion that is relatively firm and about 3 inches thick when compressed. Sit near the outer edge of the cushion, letting your legs rest on the floor. The floor is carpeted. It's beneficial to protect your shins and ankles from pressure. If there's no carpet, you should use a mat or a small blanket for your legs. Never sit fully on the cushion. This will put pressure on your thighs and compress nerves, leading to leg pain. There are several ways to position your legs. Here are the 4 most popular methods. Indian style. The right leg is placed under the left knee, and the left leg is tucked under the right knee. Burmese style. Both legs are placed parallel in front of you. Half lotus. Both knees touch the ground, with one leg resting along the other at the shin. Full lotus. Both knees touch the ground, legs crossed at the calves, with the left foot on the right thigh and the right foot on the left thigh. The soles of both feet face upward. In these postures, place your hands with the fingers loosely together, one hand resting on top of the other, with palms facing upward, and place them gently in front of your abdomen. The hands should be slightly below the navel, with the wrists lightly touching the inner thighs. Position of your hands helps keep the body upright and stable for long periods. Do not strain the muscles in your neck or arms. The entire body should be relaxed and completely at ease. Avoid creating tension in the abdomen. Raise your chin slightly. Your eyes can be open or closed. If you choose to keep them open, gaze at the tip of your nose or the midpoint between your eyes and the nearest object in front of you, as if you're not looking at anything specific, but rather gazing into space to forget about sight. Do not strain or tense up. Relax, allowing your entire body to be naturally supple, as if the whole body is hanging on a coat rack, with the spine acting as the hanger. The half lotus and full lotus postures are the most common in Theravada Buddhism in Asia, with the full lotus being considered the best posture for meditation. Once you're seated, you can remain completely still for an extended period. However, since this posture requires flexible legs, not everyone can sit this way. Moreover, the sitting posture does not define the meditator. It's simply a matter of finding what suits each individual best. Choose a posture that allows you to sit as long as possible without pain or fidgeting. Experiment with different postures to find the one that suits you best. Over time, your muscles will loosen, and you can gradually work your way toward the full lotus position. The chair. Sitting on the floor can be very difficult due to pain or other reasons, so you may choose to sit on a chair. Select a flat chair with a straight backrest and no armrests. When sitting, do not lean against the backrest. The front of the chair should not press too deeply into your thighs. Place both feet parallel, with the soles flat on the floor. As in the traditional posture, place your hands on your lap, one hand resting on top of the other with palms facing up. Do not strain the muscles in your neck or shoulders. Relax your arms. Your eyes can be open or closed. Regardless of the posture you choose, always keep your goal in mind. You want to achieve a state of total bodily stillness without falling into sleepiness. It's similar to letting a glass of water with sediment settle. You want to practice the method of, a still body leads to a still mind. When the body is still and focused, it will lead to the clear state of mind you seek. So experiment. The body is merely a means to achieve the mental state we desire, so use it wisely. What to do with your mind? Practice method we're discussing here is the cultivation of insight meditation. As mentioned earlier, meditation objects vary widely and have been used by humans over time. Even within the practice of vipassana, there are numerous differences. Some teachers instruct their students to observe the breath by watching the rise and fall of the abdomen. Others encourage focusing on the points of contact between the body and the seat, or between the hands, or the sensation of one leg touching the other. However, here we simply follow the way the Buddha taught long ago. In the Great Discourse on the Establishment of Mindfulness, the Buddha emphasized repeatedly that meditators should begin by focusing on the breath and then proceed to observe all phenomena arising in the body and mind. We sit and observe the flow of the breath in and out of the nose. At first, this might seem like a pointless and strange, if not crazy, thing to do. Before going further, let's examine the reasoning behind this practice. The first question we might ask is, why focus all our attention? Because we want to develop mindfulness. So why not just sit anywhere and in any posture, simply being aware of whatever arises in the mind? In truth, that's exactly what we want to achieve. But doing that is very difficult because the mind is very cunning. Thoughts form in a highly complex and elusive manner. As a result, we are constantly manipulated, bound, and controlled by the endless stream of thoughts. One thought arises and then leads to another, taking us along, until 15 minutes later, we suddenly realize we've been daydreaming about distant things unrelated to the reality in which we are physically present. There is a difference between being aware of a thought and thinking a thought, and this difference is very subtle, with the importance lying in the feeling and structure. A thought that you simply recognize with mindfulness has a light, delicate texture. There is a separation between the thought, the known, and the awareness, the knower, that is aware of that thought. Awareness arises like a shadow, and then disappears without creating the conditions for the next moment of awareness in the flow of thoughts. Thinking a thought, on the other hand, has a coarser structure. It is slower, more impressionable, and compelling. It captivates you and dominates consciousness. Its nature is to obsess people and immerse them in the stream of thoughts without leaving any gaps. Intentional thinking generates corresponding tension in the body, such as muscle contractions or an increase in heart rate, but you won't feel the tension until it accumulates and grows into a burst of frustration, as intentional thought is the embodiment of greed. It grabs all your awareness, leaving nothing behind for you to recognize its consequence. The difference between being aware of a thought and thinking a thought is real, but it is so subtle and difficult to perceive. Only meditation can help us see this difference. Deep concentration will slow down mental processes and sharpen awareness. As a result, we train ourselves to control the activity of mental process. Meditation is like a microscope for viewing the subtle states within. We focus our awareness to achieve one-pointedness with calmness and continuous, uninterrupted attention. Without a stable anchor, you are easily swept away by the constant changes of the arising and passing mental states. We use the breath as the meditation object. It serves as a crucial anchor so that whenever the mind drifts away, it has a place to return to. There can be no state of wandering if the mind has no home to return to when it leaves. Therefore, we need to choose a stable anchor amidst the constant, incoherent changes in the mind's thought stream. In the scriptures, meditation is compared to the method of training a wild elephant. In ancient times, people would tie the untamed animal to a sturdy post with a strong rope. Naturally, this did not please the elephant. It would bellow, stomp, and strain against the rope for many days. Eventually, it would realize that escape was impossible, and so it would accept reality. At that point, you could begin to feed and safely guide it in some activities to get it accustomed. In the next stage, you could remove the post and rope, training the elephant for new tasks. Finally, you would have a well-trained elephant that could perform useful work. The wild elephant is no different from our unruly mind. The rope is mindfulness, and the post is the meditation object, the breath. A well-trained elephant can perform heavy tasks with great efficiency, just as a concentrated mind can pierce through the layers of illusion that obscure life's truths. Meditation is training for the mind. The next question we should consider is, why choose the breath as the primary meditation object? Why not select something more interesting? The answer is diverse. A good meditation object should have the potential to yield high results. It should be flexible, readily available, and natural. It should not be something that arouses desire, while we aim to let go of things like greed, anger, and delusion. The breath possesses all these qualities and more. It is a universal element for all beings, and we carry it with us wherever we go. It is always present, ready, and never lost until the moment of death. And moreover, we don't have to buy it. Breathing is not a conceptual process. We can experience it without intentional effort. Furthermore, it is a living process, a form of life in constant change. The breath operates in cycles, inhalation, exhalation. It mirrors the cycle of life itself. The sensation of breathing is subtle, but it's not difficult to distinguish once you learn to follow it, requiring just a bit of effort. Anyone can do this. Simply a matter of applying your ability to this practice without overexerting yourself. For all these reasons, the breath is truly an ideal meditation object. Usually, breathing is a natural process, proceeding in its own way without any intentional effort. But even a small change can slow it down or speed it up, or make it longer and calmer or shorter and more rapid. The difference between natural breathing and controlled breathing is very subtle, and this is an important lesson about the nature of spontaneity and the force of will. Then, right at the edge of the nose, you can gain a glimpse through a window between the inner and outer worlds. This is the connection point, where energy from outside enters to become part of what we call self, and also where it exits to merge with the external universe. These lessons teach us what the concept of self is and how we construct it. The breath is a universal phenomenon. Understanding this process through actual experience brings you closer to other living beings. You will realize the inherent connection of all living things. After all, the breath is a process of the present moment, meaning it always unfolds here and now. We rarely live in the present. Instead, we waste much of our time reminiscing about the past, daydreaming about future possibilities, or spending our days worrying, feeling insecure, or planning for what's to come. The breath has nothing to do with those beyond the present concerns. When you truly observe the breath, you automatically live in the present moment, setting aside all the complexities to experience the simplicity of the current moment. From this perspective, the breath is a small piece of life's truth. Mindfulness that observes the essence of this small model of life will lead us to intuitive wisdom, which we can apply to the experiential process in all other areas. The first step in observing the breath as an object is to notice it. What you're looking for is the physical sensation of the air entering and exiting the nostrils. This is usually just inside the nostrils, but the exact spot depends on the individual, as there are differences in nose shape. Find your spot, take a deep breath, and feel where there's a distinct sensation as the air passes through. Then breathe out forcefully to feel the same spot. This point is where you need to anchor your attention throughout the breathing cycle. Once you've identified the anchor point, don't let yourself stray from it. Use this anchor to keep your attention fixed. If there's no anchor, you'll easily be drawn into following the breath's movements, up and down, in and out, constantly chasing the breath as it changes and flows. If you've ever sawed a plank of wood, you know this principle. The carpenter doesn't watch the saw blade moving up and down. Instead, they focus on the point where the saw teeth bite into the wood. That's the only way to make a straight cut. Similarly, the meditator should focus attention on a single point where there's contact at the nostril. The benefit is that you can observe the entire movement of the breath with concentrated awareness. Never try to control the breath. This is not a breathing exercise like in yoga. Focus naturally and without forcing on the movement of the breath. Don't intentionally try to regulate or emphasize it in any particular way. This is a common pitfall for new meditators. To help them concentrate on the sensation, new meditators often unintentionally make their breathing more pronounced. The result is an unnatural strain which hinders concentration rather than helping it to develop. Never lengthen your breath or create noise, especially when meditating in a group, as it will disturb others around you. Let the breath flow as naturally as it does when you're asleep. Relax and let the entire process unfold in its own rhythm. It sounds easy, doesn't it? The truth is, it's not as easy as you think, but don't get discouraged. With some effort, you'll find a way. Use this as an opportunity to observe the nature of consciousness. Examine the interplay within the breath, between the impulse to control it and the impulse not to control it. You might feel frustrated for a while, but this is a stage you must go through, and the benefits gained from this process are significant. Gradually, the breath will stabilize, and you'll no longer feel any urge to interfere. At this point, you'll learn a great lesson about your own contrary desires. Initially, the breath may seem very ordinary and unremarkable, but in reality, it's a fascinating process with a vast and intricate structure. If you look closely, you'll see that it takes on countless forms. There are phases of inhalation and exhalation, long and short, deep and shallow, continuous and erratic. These patterns blend together in countless subtle and complex ways. Observe the breath closely. Truly study it. You'll notice many levels of change and recurring cycles in various consistent patterns. It's like a symphony. Don't just observe the coarse aspects of the breath. There's much more to learn than simply inhaling and exhaling. Each breath has a beginning, middle, and end. Each inhalation goes through stages: arising, staying, decaying, and ceasing. And the exhalation is the same. The depth and speed of the breath depend on your emotional state, the thoughts arising in your mind, and the sounds you hear. Study these phenomena, and you'll find them truly captivating. However, this doesn't mean you should sit there silently talking to yourself. That was an erratic breath, and that was a deep breath. What will the next one be? That's not what insight meditation is about. That's you thinking. You'll encounter this kind of situation, especially in the beginning stages of practice, which everyone must go through. Simply acknowledge this occurrence and return to observing the breath. Your mind will wander again and again, but you just need to bring it back to the object, over and over, until the mind no longer wanders. When you begin practicing, be prepared for challenges. Your mind will wander, jumping around like a drunken bee. Don't worry, The restless monkey mind is a common phenomenon. It's something every meditator has to face and overcome in one way or another, and so must you. When it happens, it's not that you're thinking, daydreaming, worrying, or anything else. Be flexible but firm without getting angry or criticizing yourself for being distracted. Simply bring your mind back to the sensation of the breath. And then do it again and again. At some point in your practice, you'll be faced with astonishment and surprise when you realize the absurdity and madness of your own mind. Subconsciously, you'll be startled and confused, like being trapped in a barrel rolling uncontrollably down a steep hill. But don't worry, you're no crazier today than you were yesterday. You've always been this way. It's just that you've never noticed it before. One more thing, you're not crazier than the people around you. The difference between them and you now is that you've confronted this issue while they haven't, so they feel relatively more at ease than you do. That doesn't mean they're living better lives than you. Ignorance may bring them temporary happiness, but it won't lead them to liberation. So don't let this understanding make you uneasy. This is just a stage, a sign of genuine progress. The most obvious thing is that you're now facing an ever-present issue that you were previously blind to or unaware of. Observing the breath in silence requires avoiding two states, thinking and blankness. Thinking mind is an expression of the restless monkey mind we mentioned earlier. The opposite is blankness. In meditation terminology, the term unknowing emptiness is often used to describe this state, a dull, foggy state lacking in awareness. It's just an empty state, without thoughts but also without mindfulness, without understanding anything in the present moment. It's just a void, a gray area, like a dreamless sleep. This is a state to avoid. Insight meditation is a dynamic practice, deep concentration, focusing all attention on a single object. Mindfulness is clear, bright attention. Concentration and mindfulness are the two qualities we want to cultivate. Blankness does not belong to either of these qualities. It can lead you into drowsiness and waste your meditation time. Whenever you realize you've fallen into a state of blankness, simply acknowledge it and bring your mind back to your breath. Observe the sensation of the breath as it comes in and out to see what's happening. When you practice this way for some time, weeks or months, you'll begin to feel that sensation as if it were a tangible entity. Continue practicing. Inhale, exhale, and observe, following what's happening. The deeper your concentration, the less your mind will jump around. Your breath will slow down, allowing you to examine it more clearly because there are fewer interruptions when you have to bring your mind back to the breath. You'll experience a calm state that's no longer disturbed by external stimuli. There's no greed, craving, jealousy, envy, or hatred. Restlessness disappears in that moment, and fear does not exist. Only a state of profound clarity and happiness remains. This is a temporary state, and it will fade away when you come out of meditation. But even this brief experience can change your life. This is not liberation, but it is a stepping stone on the path to liberation. Don't expect this temporary happiness, but reaching this state takes a lot of time, effort, and patience. Meditation is not a competition. Although there is a clear goal, there is no time limit. What you are doing is gradually penetrating deeper and deeper through many layers of illusion to approach an understanding of the ultimate truth. The process itself is already full of charm and perfection. It is immensely satisfying, though there's no need to rush. After a good meditation session, you will have a mind that is truly comfortable and serene. It is peaceful, joyful, and full of energy to deal with all the issues of life. That alone is a great reward. The purpose of meditation is not to solve problems. The ability to solve problems is a byproduct that meditators gain along the way. If you focus too much on this area, you may lose concentration because your mind will dwell on these issues during meditation. Never think about problems while meditating, but skillfully set them aside during this time. Set aside all worries and plans for the moment. Treat your meditation session as a complete break. Trust yourself that you'll face these problems later. For now, put all your effort into cultivating concentration. Cultivate this confidence, and over time it will become a reality through practice. Never set goals beyond your ability. Be kind to yourself. Always try to follow your breath continuously. without allowing your attention to be interrupted. Sounds easy, so you may be inclined to push yourself at the beginning to be meticulous and precise. But this approach is not practical. It takes time to progress in small steps. At the beginning of the inhale, commit to following just one breath. Although it's not easy, it's something you can do. Next, at the beginning of the exhale, commit to following just that exhale until it ends. You will still fail time and time again. Just keep trying and practicing. Every time you fail, start over. Take it one breath at a time. Success or failure lies in this phase. Strive with it. Recommit with each breath cycle, each moment. Observe each breath with all your attention, carefully and precisely, from one moment to the next with a renewed determination. In this way, continuous, uninterrupted mindfulness will eventually arise. Mindfulness of the breath is awareness in the present moment. When practiced correctly, you are only focused on what is happening in the present moment. You don't think about the past, nor do you imagine the future. You don't recall the last breath, nor do you leap forward in anticipation of the next one. When you begin to inhale, you don't wait for the end of the inhalation process, nor do you jump ahead in anticipation of the upcoming exhalation. You simply become aware of what is happening right now. You are inhaling, and that is what you are focusing on, nothing more. Meditation is the process of training and correcting the mind. State you aim to achieve is one of full, uninterrupted attention to what is happening in your sensory world, precisely as it is, exactly as it is, state of complete and present awareness. This is an ultimate goal, and it cannot be reached quickly. It requires practice and training, so we must start with the very small. We must be fully aware of each moment, one breath at a time. When this is done well, you will gain an entirely new experience of life. The structure of practice. Everything discussed above still falls within the realm of theory. Now let's delve into the actual practice. The question is, how do we do what we call meditation? First, you need to establish a schedule for practice, a specific time dedicated solely to meditation and nothing else. When you were a child learning to walk, those who taught you faced countless challenges in teaching you this ability. They held your hands, encouraged you, and helped you place one foot in front of the other until you could do it on your own. These guided stages formed a training process for the art of walking. In meditation, we follow a similar method. We set aside a specific period dedicated to developing this spiritual ability called mindfulness. We arrange for our surroundings to minimize distractions, because this is not an easy skill to learn. We have spent nearly our entire lives cultivating habits that are entirely contrary to the ideal operation of continuous mindfulness. To rid ourselves of these habits, we need an effective process. As mentioned earlier, our mind is like a glass of dirty water. The purpose of meditation is to filter out the sediment so that we can see what is happening within. The best way to do this is to leave it undisturbed and wait long enough for it to settle. Eventually, you'll have a clear glass of water. In meditation, we dedicate a period of time each day to this filtering process. From the outside, it may seem entirely pointless. We sit motionless like a rock, but inside, much is happening. Once scattered thoughts settle, we are left with a clear mind to face whatever life throws at us. This doesn't mean we have to do something to hasten this settling. It's just a natural process. Sitting mindfully will lead to this settling. In fact, if we have even a hint of intention to speed up the settling, it will have the opposite effect. Because it's a form of suppression, it doesn't work. Trying to force out disturbances from the mind only increases the pressure on it. You might temporarily succeed, but over time, these disturbances will only grow stronger. They lie dormant in the subconscious, waiting for an opportunity to erupt, at which point you will be powerless against them. The best method to filter out the mind's impurities is to let them settle naturally. Don't add any energy to the existing condition. Just observe the flow of phenomena objectively. Gradually, it will settle down and stop if you don't supply the energy for it to rise again. We use energy for meditation, not to suppress wandering thoughts. Our only effort is patient mindfulness. Meditation time is like surgery for the day. Everything that happens during the day is stored in the mind in various forms: emotions, feelings, Throughout the day, you are caught up in the constraints of circumstances which you must face and deal with whether you understand them clearly or not. They are stored in the subconscious where they cause the most damage. Then you wonder where all this stress comes from. All these residues emerge in one form or another during meditation. You have the opportunity to examine them, see their true nature, and then let them go. Serious meditation sessions are meant to create the conditions for this letting go. We re-establish mindfulness in regular time cycles to move the mind away from the disruptive activities of daily life. So we find a quiet place to sit still and wait for these things to arise. Then they will fade away. This effect is like recharging a battery. Meditation is like charging mindfulness with energy. Where to sit? Find a quiet, secluded place where you are alone. It doesn't have to be an ideal spot like a forest. That's unrealistic for most of us, but it should be relatively comfortable and, most importantly, free from interruption. Place should be one where few people come and go. You want to devote all your attention to meditation without worrying about how you look to others. So the quieter the place, the better. It doesn't need to be a soundproof room, but noise is indeed a distraction to avoid if possible, especially conversations and music. The mind tends to be drawn to such sounds, making it hard to control, and concentration is lost. There are some details you can use to create a favorable environment. A dimly lit room with candles and incense is excellent. Timing device to mark the start and end of the session is also helpful. These are just minor details. They work for some people, but are not directly related to the practice itself. You might find some benefit in sitting in a familiar spot. Place dedicated to meditation is a good condition for many people. You gradually become familiar with it and feel more comfortable there, helping you enter into concentration more quickly. It's as if the environment pulls you back to where you left off the day before. This is something you need to experiment with to see. Try a few places and choose the best one. What you need to avoid is anything that makes you feel unnatural and prone to distraction. Many people find it beneficial to sit in a group. Adhering to a schedule makes many feel supported and encouraged, which is also helpful in the practice. Commitment that you must keep is also a way to counter the "I'm too busy" syndrome, which leads to skipping sessions. You can find a meditation group in your area. It doesn't matter if they practice the same way as you, as long as you sit in silence. On the other hand, you should also feel sufficient in your practice. Never rely on the group's presence as your primary motivation. Correct approach is to see meditation as a joy. A group is just a support, not a crutch for you. When to sit? The most crucial principle is to apply the Buddhist middle way when meditating. Don't overdo it, but don't take it lightly. That doesn't mean you only sit when you feel like it. It means you must have a schedule and stick to it consistently. Setting a schedule is commendable. But if the schedule creates too much difficulty, it's not suitable and needs adjustment. Meditation is not a duty or obligation. It's a psychological activity. You will face the roughness of thoughts and emotion. Therefore, your mental state when you begin meditation affects the outcome of the session. What you expect is often what you will achieve. So having a good mental attitude usually yields good results. If you sit with a heavy heart and fatigue, that's what you'll get. Therefore, create a suitable, feasible routine that fits with other aspects of your life. Then, if you start feeling a gradual sense of liberation, consider changing it. Early morning is an excellent time to practice. Your mind is fresh because you haven't yet thought about the responsibilities of the day ahead, so meditation is a good way to start the day. It will prepare you better to face any situation. You will go through the day more easily. Certainly, you must be alert. You won't achieve anything worthwhile if you're constantly nodding off, so get enough sleep. Wash your face or shower before starting. Possible, do some exercise to get your blood flowing, or do anything to fully wake up before sitting in meditation. Above all, don't get caught up in daily activities, or you'll easily skip the meditation session. Treat sitting in meditation as the most important task of the morning. Evening is also a good time for practice. Your mind is full of the garbage accumulated during the day, so clearing it out before bed is a good idea. Meditation will cleanse and refresh your mind. Reestablishing mindfulness will make your sleep more beneficial. When starting meditation, once a day is enough. You feel like sitting more? That's fine, but never overdo it. There's a phenomenon of burnout that we often see in many new meditators. They throw themselves into the practice for 15 hours a day for a few weeks, only to find when life catches up with them that meditation is too time-consuming, too sacrificial, and they can't find time for it anymore. Don't ever fall into this situation. Don't exhaust yourself in the first week. Hurry slowly. Keep your efforts steady and sustainable. Give yourself time to integrate the practice into your life, and let it develop gradually and smoothly. As your interest in meditation grows, you will naturally make more time for it in your schedule. This spontaneous development happens without any force. Serious meditators often devote 3 to 4 hours a day to practice while still living a normal life, naturally and comfortably. How long to sit? As mentioned earlier, sit for as long as you can, but don't overdo it. New meditators should start with 20 to 30 minutes. Initially, it's challenging to sit longer and still gain benefit. This is especially true for Westerners, as this sitting posture is unfamiliar, but the body needs time to adjust. The mental ability is also new and requires time to adapt. As you become more accustomed to the process, you can gradually extend the time. We recommend that after about a year of continuous practice, you should be able to sit comfortably for an hour at a time. The important thing is that Vipassana meditation is not an ascetic practice. The goal is not to self-inflict pain. Pain is inevitable, especially in the legs. We will discuss pain and how to handle it in more detail in Chapter 10. There are specific methods and attitudes that you will learn to face pain. Point here is, this is not a competition to endure hardship. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. So, don't force yourself to sit through excruciating pain just to complete the full hour. That would be a useless practice for the ego. Never overextend yourself at the beginning. Know your limits, and don't blame yourself for not being able to sit like a rock for long periods. As meditation becomes a part of your life, you can extend the session beyond an hour. Typically, how long you sit depends on the conditions of your life at the time. Then, sit for 5 minutes longer than planned. There are no strict rules about meditation time. Even if you've developed a solid practice for a short time, there will be days when physical conditions prevent you from sitting that long. That doesn't mean you should skip the day altogether. Regular practice is the key. Even 10 minutes of practice can be very beneficial. One more thing to note, when choosing how long to meditate, decide before sitting down, not during the session. This easily leads to restlessness. Restlessness is one of the states we want to observe mindfully. So choose a suitable time and stick to it. You can use a clock to time your session, but don't peek at it every 2 minutes to see how you're doing. Concentration will not accumulate, and restlessness will arise immediately. You'll find yourself distracted before the meditation session ends. That's not meditation. That's just watching the clock as time passes. Don't check the clock until you believe the designated time for the session has passed. In fact, you don't need to check the clock during every meditation session. Usually, you should sit for as long as you feel like it. There's no mystery about how long you should sit. Best to set a minimum time for yourself, however short it may be. Without a minimum, you'll be tempted to end the session as soon as something unpleasant arises, or when you feel uneasy. This isn't beneficial. These experiences can be very valuable if the meditator is willing to face and learn from them. You need to learn how to observe them clearly and calmly. Watch them mindfully. Once you do this enough, they won't control you anymore. You'll see their true nature. They are just impulses, arising and passing away, merely part of the flow. Then your life will naturally become more peaceful. Discipline is a word that can be quite intimidating for many of us. Conjures up images of someone standing over you with a whip in hand, telling you that you're doing something wrong. But self-discipline is entirely different. It's the ability to see through your own shortcomings and penetrate the mysterious nature of them. They no longer have the power to oppress you. Instead, they reveal the deception they've been holding over you all this time. Your cravings have been screaming, thrashing about to overpower you. They've tricked, coaxed, and threatened you without needing to use a whip. Yet you've still given in to them, turning this into a habit. You listen to them because you've never bothered to look closely to see if the threat is real. It isn't real at all. So, there's only one way to learn this lesson. The words on this page won't do it for you. But looking within and observing the residues that arise, unease, restlessness, agitation, suffering, just watch them appear without engaging with them. Then, to your surprise, they simply fade away. They arise and then dissipate. It's as simple as that. There's another word for self-discipline, and that word is patience.